I feel like maybe we should adopt kind of like an NPR, like even toned voice, not too excited, not too not too dejected. Kind of. I guess soporific is the word that comes to mind. The big $10 word.
I'm into it. I like it. Yeah, well, I've always wanted to be an NPR radio announcer, and I'm just really reminded about
Yeah, or I think you could
driving.
adopt the sort of Ira Glass choppy, speaking short clauses kind of
Oh,
cadence.
I'd be better at that.
Yeah. Um, so in other news today, my 16-inch MacBook Pro arrived, my new work laptop. It's pretty nice.
Is it really fast?
I haven't really had a chance to really exercise it yet. So I think the incredible thing about Mac OS is that the user interface is incredibly consistent, and therefore it feels exactly the same as my old laptop.
Have you seen the new UI that's coming out like in a month? It's bonkers.
No, let me
Yeah, look
tell
up.
me about it.
You should look up macOS Big Sur. Uh huh. Just
So far looks pretty
I mean,
similar.
it looks like an iPhone. Everything is like really frosted. Uh,
Yeah,
the control center is now in the menu bar. It's just like I don't know. It feels like a toy. It looks very plasticky and toy to me when I like see the details.
interesting. Can I zoom in on any of these? Does Apple have themselves have?
Oh yeah, they've got the macOS Big Sur is on their site too, but that's probably pretty good. Yeah, you want the preview.
Oops. Let's blow it out a little bit here. Okay.
It's just an iPhone is what it is. They've really gone whole hog.
Have you used? Do you have a keyboard? Do you have one of those keyboards for your iPad?
Yeah, I do. I like it.
And does it not have? Or do you have like the new keyboard with the
hmm
trackpad on it?
I like it a lot.
And it's got a cursor and everything, right?
It has a cursor and it works extremely well. They really came up with a nice paradigm for it.
I'm guessing at some point they're just going to try to unify the interfaces, right?
I mean, this is halfway. Also, I think this runs iPhone apps natively.
Wow.
Yeah, they might. I think they finally pulled the trigger on that. Maybe it's
So
only
their
maybe it's
whole
only the
like
new ones that use iPhone processors too. But yeah,
their whole like translate between like what do you call ARM 64 and not ARM 64? What am I thinking of? AMD 64 and ARM goes both directions. Then right? They want
I
to be
think
able to
so.
run. They want to be able to run ARM code on the now old Intel Macs, and they
Yeah,
want to be able to run AMD 64 code on the new ARM Macs, right?
I think that's exactly it.
Well,
God, look, the icons are just crazy. I'm trying to clear my drawing. Yeah.
yeah, no, I saw it. I saw it. Ooh, I like this. Yeah, it's very iOS design language right there, right?
hmm
These sliders.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like it's actually got some nice. I think it's got some nice bits to it. It's just so interesting. I don't know. They're definitely changing like for the first time in a while, like kind of every widget design.
I'm into it actually. This
Yeah,
this is I think this is a positive step forward.
one of
It
the
does make it less distinctive. Like it starts to move it closer to some of like when I think of honestly like this is the unflattering comparison, but I think of like the design language of like um, what's the Unity desktop called again?
Unity desktop.
No,
I
no,
don't.
it's Unity. Sorry, Ubuntu's desktop is
Oh,
called Unity. Sorry, like
yeah, that's
it's
correct.
got that kind of like it's sort of a lighter gray,
hmm
in the Chrome and everything. Um,
Yeah, I
cool.
like. I feel like the biggest difference I saw was like the window title. They're like no more like window title bar,
Yes.
which I think is actually great because like it's only been like 30 years of macOS like taking up an entire top of the window with like the name of the window.
Yeah, I think the only thing I use that for now is to figure out which directory I'm in, like a
hmm
Finder or a text editor, right?
Yeah, it's Finder is actually the thing that looks the most different in this to me, which is weird.
They have a Finder here.
They must have had it somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably in the first screenshot, to be honest.
Of course. Um, this is Finder, right? No,
That's Photos. It looks a
that's
lot like Finder,
Photos.
though.
Oh, okay. Um,
Oh, maybe not. Yeah,
but everything has this kind of like
it's like
Slack
everything.
style sidebar with content in the middle.
You know what? It really is Slack that pioneered that. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And now, like literally every app looks like that. I think
Everything. Yeah.
Anyways, 16-inch MacBook Pro is by surface area the largest laptop I've ever had. I think every other laptop that I've had has been a 13-inch, all the way back to 2002. I think.
I had a 16-inch and my 15-inch at the same time, and it is still remarkably bigger.
Yeah.
Like it felt dramatic.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, man, it's fast. It's gonna be a great work computer. I really want one for compiling my apps on it, and I'm annoyed that I have a 13-inch.
At a certain point, you're gonna get like a build server, right, and then just have it happen online.
That's been our like our major complaint. Well, and we had a build server, and it's in the office that no one can get to, and someone has to sign it onto the VPN every day. So like there was a build server, and the pandemic took it away from the company. It turns out.
Yeah, it happens to be the case that this exact subject is what my new role at work is about. Is like figuring how to virtualize Mac OS builds. And there aren't many options.
You can't. It's a nightmare.
Is what I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If Mac OS invents something like Docker, it'd be incredible, right? Anyways, let's talk about video games.
Bring it.
Yeah. I feel like we did a lot last time, and I think I need to actually refresh my memory because, these are my notes from last time. Don't save.
Yeah, we did it. We did those notes.
We did those notes. So what system was it that we have a sync server state system? And this is in the client, and it pulls messages from the server.
Yep.
And we're saying,
and it either creates or updates the message.
Yeah.
Or actually, the entity, and they're the same. It's the same path, really. It's like it gets an entity. If we don't have a matching ID, we create it, and then we just like apply whatever transform the server told us about. And this is for every entity on every frame.
Yeah. And so currently the transform is basically like, we apply the transform, but like, I think more abstractly, these server messages are going to tell us deltas of the state. Right now, it's not really a delta model. We're just clobbering the local state with the updates. So in principle, we could just pull the latest frame that we receive from the server and apply it. But it's fine that we're doing it this way because eventually it's going to be incremental, right?
Yeah, and the thing we haven't tackled yet is any level of prediction, because we're essentially treating this entire thing as the client is 5 frames behind the server.
Yep.
Or really, the client's 5 frames ahead of the server, and we get messages for 5 frames in the past, and we apply everything older than our current frame that we have access to.
Yeah. So we could go a couple different directions today. We could continue to implement functionality across the client-server boundary, which I think we're going to get to sooner or later today.
Definitely.
One optional thing we can throw in there is to model the full round trip time and have essentially the server have the client take a certain amount of time for the state to reach the server, and then have an equal delay going backwards, so that essentially the client sends the server receives client frames from like 5, like let's say arbitrarily the interval is 5, like half of round trip time is 5 frames. The client is always going to send its data every frame to the server. The server receives that 5 wall clock frames later, calculates it, and then sends its state to the client, but it takes 5 wall clock frames for that transfer to happen.
Yep.
And so actually the client receives server state from 10 frames ago. We could model that whole round trip?
Oh man, I think we should. It's gonna make input feel twice as laggy, right?
Yes.
And I wonder, does that help us model prediction at all? Because that's sort of what I feel is like maybe the big issue too. I guess we'll suddenly have the server dealing with frames in the past, which will probably lead us to have to like keep track of past frames and reapply to future frames.
Yeah, I think it maybe doesn't help us model anything, right? Because on the one hand,
Well, if we wanted to apply, I think the thing that would help us model is that if the server is on frame 10 and gets a client message from frame 5, the server needs to apply it to its frame 5 so that future state is correct.
You're right.
Yeah, because otherwise, not only is input laggy, but input is wrong because we are going to have players at different intervals of offness. So let's model that. That would be very valuable.
Yeah. Do you remember? Did you watch that Overwatch video at all?
No, I haven't had an hour.
No. It's totally fine. Let's actually boot it.
Yeah, do it. Bring it on here.
Real quick, just so we can see the visuals. You're not going to hear the audio or anything, but
wow, dude, YouTube is just. I love that it just gives you like
let's just
fashy
look at
Donald
stuff.
Trump ads.
Actually, all of my YouTube ads right now are Donald Trump. I don't know if that's the case for you.
I don't see many YouTube ads. Mostly it's Grammarly. Grammarly is like every ad I get.
I've seen Grammarly a lot too, but I'm getting a lot of Trump.
Ugh.
Look at this guy striding forward. I believe in fascism. He says.
Oh man.
Careful,
Jeff. You said it out loud. Now it's just going to be the clip that they bring down your political career with.
Yeah.
That one sentence.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. And it's like 20-something minutes in, right?
You remember. If I full screen this, how disastrous is this going to be for the stream?
Don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So basically what we're seeing here, there's actually a cool animation, but like, let me pause here. This is what I'm basing what I'm talking about on right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if every game does this, but this is like the most well animated thing that I've done in my research so far. So I think that's like naturally where my brain heads.
Yeah, I find this sort of as a manageable mental model too. So
yeah. So as you can see, the client is ahead of the server by some amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that I don't know how they manage this. I think he talks about it later on, but like it is possible to deal with the fact that maybe the server doesn't receive certain client inputs until long after the server has exceeded that simulation frame. That was the problem that you were talking about, right? But this animation doesn't deal with that problem directly. What is interesting is that the server also builds in a buffer here where it doesn't process the frames right away. And I was trying to figure out why they would do that. And my assumption is that there's a buffer here because there could be multiple clients and you want to try to apply all of the clients' inputs at the same time on the same frame.
Right. You're trying your very best to get like that frame. I guess what is frame 29's input? Like you want everyone's frame 29 as close to the same time as possible.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So if we continue forward, this gets into the cool animation. So what this is Tracer, the character, and what this represents is the state. This is like the server state being sent back to the client, and the higher vertically it is, the closer it is to actually being received by the client host, right? And what he's going to talk about is basically when prediction on the client disagrees with the actual state coming from the server. Right now, it's in total agreement because these icons look exactly the same, but you'll see them change and be different. And then he talks about like what happens when they disagree. Let me see if I can't find that. How again do you get rid of the Zoom Chrome? Do you remember?
The
this,
Zoom
this sort of like
Oh,
huge obtrusive bar. It doesn't
Control
matter.
Option Open Apple H.
I just dragged it out of the way.
That too.
So let's see if we can find it. Okay, there we go. That was a.
Whoa.
If we can find the animation here. So far, this is kind of what it looks like. This is essentially the loop that we want in the ideal. So he's about to model a misprediction, which means that the server is going to end up simulating something that the client didn't predict. I'll try to freeze frame. Yeah. So we see this diagram here. He's got this cursor over it, so it looks a little bit funky. But you notice that like what the server is saying here is that like actually the character got hit by something that the server knows about, but the client didn't know about, right? They didn't see the shot. And so this is a misprediction. The server's frame 17 has a hit, whereas the predicted frame 17 on the client was not a hit. And the animation is going to show what happens when it. So I think I just passed it. Actually, it happens like right away. I don't know if I can try to get this exact moment here.
Oh, interesting. I bet I saw it like it zips backwards.
Yeah.
Right, and then the client continues prediction from there.
There.
Wow.
I don't know if you saw that, but basically it changed all of those animation frames from Tracer running to Tracer getting hit. And so what we were seeing there was that there was a misprediction and the client just applies all of the inputs that it's been buffering, right? So all of these joysticks here on the client side is input that the client received on that frame. And the client just takes that server state and then applies all the inputs and resimulates the whole game based on that. Now, I'm shocked that this works because in the on a macro scale, like if this was over the course of minutes, right? The inputs that you would have put in had you gotten hit would be dramatically different than the inputs you would put in had you not got hit, right? But it works, or at least somehow they apply this technique in a way that just works, right?
That's wild.
So what they don't talk about in this video, or at least I might have missed it, is that it's possible that it takes like I don't know how many frames on the client for you to realize that you were in a completely different state than you should have been. And I don't know how they smooth over, like how do they avoid pops or really jarring transitions? How do they smooth over what you see with what gets reconciled, right?
Well, and I wonder too, for something like a hit, I wonder if you get to like, you can probably take advantage of the poppiness of that. Like suddenly you are moved in another direction by a force that you don't control.
Yeah.
And like, it just has to feel good in the game too. And then they can probably move you as much as they want to for a lot of values, right? Like they can probably correct drastically because of that, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And I also have to think that maybe a lot of like, it could be that you're getting hit, and that's actually probably the least visually interesting thing, right? Because you don't see yourself. What is interesting is seeing another character get hit, right? And maybe what it is that they just designed the game to not have super dramatic animations for registering hits and that kind of thing until you actually know that like you died, for example.
Yep.
Now, I think we talked about the subject before, but like this is not Street Fighter. Like if it's Street Fighter, you can't not animate a hit. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, which also has multiplayer somehow.
Yeah.
Which
so maybe Street Fighter does something completely different to this.
That's the free PS Plus game this month. We should try some Network Street Fighter.
Street Fighter 5?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's do it. It's also on Xbox Game Pass for PC.
I'll sign up for it.
I don't know if you're signed up to that. I haven't really taken advantage of it, but I'm like paying them $5 a month for it. It's just the siren song of free games.
It's how they get you.
Yeah.
It's Netflix of everything.
It does have crosscode for free there, so in case you want to do crosscode not on the Switch,
That actually might convince me.
yeah. And that game is probably better with mouse and keyboard, unfortunately, but I've been playing on Switch. It's
Okay.
good. It's a good game. Okay, so what we've modeled is half of this picture, right? We've modeled this. I don't know if you can see my cursor at all.
Again, yeah, it's going to be clear.
But you basically, like, this side of it we've modeled, but right now our server communication, I believe, immediately sends messages back to the client.
That's
we
correct.
haven't modeled this reverse slope here.
Yeah, and we don't, and we'll never have the misprediction because the client waits. Like the client doesn't actually go forward before it gets a server message.
The client will animate. Will continue to. Well, the client frames will continue to advance, right?
But the transform never updates on the client itself. So like we basically like we've modeled. Wait, how do I draw? We've modeled this, but we've also like we haven't modeled this, and we haven't modeled this forward motion while we wait for this update to come back.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, we can't mispredict because we don't predict in the first place.
Yep, that's great.
Yeah.
Solve that problem.
Yep. Totally. And you know, to be honest, if this was
are there games that don't do prediction? Is that possible?
If there's no real time graphics.
Hey, we got someone in the chat. Is Proto RXE? Was that Eric?
I believe that's Eric.
How's it going? Yeah, we're great.
Asynchronous, answering questions from like the 10-second Twitch lag, and also the chat room as well. It's really the best way to communicate, right? It's
yeah. No, we're doing great, man. Still writing some wild networking code. We are going to have a client and server that can play a game all by itself, but it will be a client and server.
So now that we have Eric watching the stream, Eric, let me ask you. You used to work on some form of video game, right? Tell us in chat what you worked on and what you found good and bad about video game development. At least I think he worked on a game. I felt like some form of chain in the past was game development. Yeah.
Mostly single player mobile games. Interesting.
Well, just to catch Eric up, we are fumbling our way towards doing multiplayer online for our tank battle game. And we're kind of talking about the theory of doing how do you reconcile different inputs on different clients and simulation on the server and get that to feel good with high ping, basically.
This is well above my pay grade. He says the worst part was cross-platform compatibility and performance, which, like, man,
yeah,
mobile cross-platform stuff. I'm so glad that I can write in React Native now, but like, oh man, if I had to like compile an engine for iOS and Android, like, God help me, I would be drowning.
Yeah, I mean, it basically just you have to throw manpower at it, right? It's just like you need quality teams that know how to test it, and it's just idiosyncratic and different for every platform.
That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, although I don't know, maybe React Native I think probably polishes over a lot of it, right?
Not for games. I wouldn't write a game in it still.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of make. I mean, to answer your question from before, Dom, you were asking, do some games not do prediction? Yeah, I mean, if you did like a card game, you don't have any like meaningful real time animation or anything like that. Basically, any games that don't have motion, like meaningful state that represents motion in a simulated space, I don't think you have to deal with prediction at all, right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, and Eric says that their multiplayer was score battles, so you would send scores back and forth for multiplayer, which also
leaderboards or whatnot, right?
No prediction needed. Yeah. It's really interesting actually. I really enjoy playing Hearthstone still.
Mhm.
uh, despite it being definitely a money funnel for whales. But it's got a really interesting it's like incredibly random number generator based, um, and it's interesting because like they send the entire state of the game. They send the entire state of each turn to the player like on each turn, but
Yep.
then the client is actually like doing like an incredible amount of animation to like catch up to the server, um, to catch up to like whatever messages the server sent. And there's actually like sometimes the professional way to play or hack the game is to like close your client and rejoin the game so that you can skip the animation because the server state's already
Interesting.
done and you just
Yeah.
like you can just like fast forward through the animation if someone's like doing like a timing attack against you. It's
Whoa.
weird.
Tell me about Hearthstone. I was a Magic the Gathering player in the '90s. How does Hearthstone compare?
I've also done Magic. I think it's it's got that nice. It's got the property of like being sort of a digital first situation. So it was, um, it started off with a lot of cards that like had like a random effect, like one of three things will happen, and like sort of from
Yeah.
a predicted from a small set of things, but like there's a lot of coin flips involved. And I don't recall having that experience with Magic a ton. Playing like you're tracking tokens, but there's not a lot of like one of four things happens, then this entirely new effect happens to the board. Maybe.
Is there like variable, like are the stats fundamentally randomness based? Like, is it like like a traditional tabletop RPG where they like roll dice for hit percentages and damage and that kind of thing?
No, it's really it's like a it has a lot of Magic properties where it's like you have hero health and like card health and things are damaging each other. Um, but it definitely sort of like sprays out some interesting effects that like you can't mint fresh cards from Magic. You can't have like a card that adds more cards to your hand from a predetermined set, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they've definitely they sort of leaned into the like what is like natively digital about this game, and it's like it's a really fun effect. It's fun and much less serious than Magic, and it has some deep strategy to it, but it's also a lot harder to be like I think the purely strategic level of a Magic player.
Is there the mechanic where you win cards from the other person if you beat them?
No, I wish that'd be really dope.
That was all super brutal in Magic, right? Like theoretically, you could lose your best card going to a tournament because it was like random what card you pull out of your deck, right? Awful.
That's so rough. Gosh, no, thank you.
Yeah, traumatizing. Um. Okay.
So, all that said, yeah, what do we feel like doing?
Yeah. So to wind the conversation back, we basically right now we're saying that we don't model the return time from server to client. We do model like where are we modeling the lag between client and server? Was it in main?
I think it's just in main where we set them up on two different starting frames. Like the client is just always 5 ahead.
Yeah. Um, and the server will only process the client input if the server has caught up to that client frame number, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it applies. The server applies frames exactly, and the client applies frames.
And we did it.
In
We
order.
did it basically system by system.
Yeah.
That's right. Because we were talking about this being Redux, basically, right? Each system, like it's not like client messages are exclusive to a particular piece of source code on the server. The server just basically has full view over, like every system in the server has full view over all the client messages that are appropriate for the current frame, right? Which is what this is. It's like give me the messages that are for this current frame, but I particularly only care about this type, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, if there's nothing there, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah, and notably, the system is looking at one, but certainly once we start firing bullets off, there might be multiple like hit messages coming through. So we'll have to like you'll want to watch for multiple on a frame.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So back to the original question, which is like, do we want to model the idea that the client I guess it matters when we start doing prediction, right? Because it'll just mean that we have to do twice as much prediction as we're doing. So maybe it's not that important. It's not going to change structurally how we do prediction, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll have a faster catch up essentially.
Yeah.
It'll cut the backwards mapping in half.
Yeah, and then what's going to be interesting is like when we come back around to optimize this for single player, I think more or less what we're talking about is we could still do prediction. We'll just never have a misprediction because like essentially the server and the client loop are basically in lockstep.
Right, like the single player experience is you probably simulate like an average amount of lag so that it feels like you're playing the same game.
Yeah, I guess the hope is that your prediction is smooth enough that you don't have to like handicap the single player experience in order for the multiplayer experience to be not super embarrassing, right? Like,
well, and what's interesting too, I definitely feel like the trend is towards games that don't let you play single player, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's so they can get more microtransactions or prevent cheating, but I assume it's because they didn't want to build a second simulation, like. Or they'd have to run a whole server for every single player game. They're just like, no. Like you connect to the same servers and like you're always online, just alone.
I also kind of wonder if the games that force you to play online are also serving up content, and content not just assets, but like behaviors and rules that might change over time. It's like having an Electron app, right? Like to bring it back to web development. It's like the advantage of having that model that always dials into a server is that you're getting kind of like the latest stuff, right? And that's also it also it's inclusive of business logic as well, not just like assets.
Yeah, maybe so. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I think right now when you get a game that any video game that's like texture heavy, I don't think they're streaming the assets to you. I think they that's like when you update the game, you like have a 100 gigabyte download or whatever the hell, right?
No, but I wonder if they stream like models or modifications. Like I wonder how much you can hotfix in, knowing that you've got textures over here that you can do something with.
Certainly, like Xbox One. So we're already talking about like 4 or 5 years ago. They had this whole thing where because they had Azure like on hand, they talked about like doing like real-time cloud compute of something, right? And I always assumed that meant that they were like real-time rendering something for you and streaming textures or something like that to you. But
I thought it was physics simulation. I thought it was like
physics.
I thought it was they were like, we're going to do like extra computation and send it to you, which like sort of seeing how this all works makes a ton of sense to me now, because you can't overload the CPU. Like you have to continue to run the simulation in lockstep with the server, and if you start throwing unpredictable shit at the CPU, instead of dropping your frame rate, you like come out of sync and the whole game gets worse. So yeah, I think Microsoft's thing was like, we're gonna destroy buildings for you and we'll send it over the wire, and like you'll see this
totally.
dynamic collapse.
But like what can you do when
They never did.
The physics is not predictable. Like that kind of physics simulation is definitely not predictable on the client side, right? So like how much can you actually do, except maybe use that to render buildings falling down that are like far away from where the actual action is taking place, right?
It's a great question. So yeah, that was I remember Crackdown 3 was they're like, we're going to do this with that game, and they shipped it 4 years late, and it didn't do any of the stuff that they said it was going to do. See, it seemed really kind of heartbreaking to whoever was.
I mean, the idea of it was really appealing to me at the time because it allowed me to indulge some fantasy as a like lapsed game programmer who is now doing web stuff. It's like, oh, that's like kind of both of the things that I do now, or it's like a merger of my old life and my new life sort of thing. All right, so let's dive into like what we want to do today. I think I've managed to at least convince myself that I don't think adding the return trip lag is going to change our decision making structurally. So maybe we can just forge ahead and start adding more behavior to this. The the game has been super broken for a while, right? Turret doesn't work.
It's pretty busted.
Yeah, but it feels relatively smooth, I want to say. Let me close this tab here. I saw a little bit of a skip right there. But otherwise, it's not horrible. If we dial up the frame lag, let's just take it to 20.
Mhm.
Oh,
Let me see. I was going to say oh boy.
and this feels atrociously bad right now. This feels horrible.
Twitch is Zoom is not sending me the fastest data.
Is it not? Is there a lot of delay, or is it resolution bad?
It just looks pretty laggy both ways.
Okay. Well, you can't actually. It's not actually visible what I'm feeling right now, but I'm feeling essentially a third of a second of lag, which is horrible.
Oh, that is no good.
Yeah. So we can either start to build some prediction into this with just motion, or we can start to move more behaviors into the system.
I'm very interested in the prediction side of this, just because like it's going to affect how we handle our behaviors too, and like every behavior we want to add is going to need to be pre-predicted.
Okay.
I'm pretty curious to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, this is great. We're seizing the bull by the horns right now. We're basically diving into the hard part of this.
I mean, the game's already broken, so whatever.
It's broken to shit. Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, I'm going to leave the lag at 1/3 of a second, right? I think that gives us a high incentive. Right?
Seeing it smooth out, I think, will be really valuable.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing prediction, it immediately raises the question of reconciliation. Like, we have to do prediction, but then we also have to like model in how they disagree, but they're never going to disagree right now, I think, right?
Right. So this is actually pretty cool because every state that comes back from the server
should match
perfectly.
Yes.
And I guess, it's sort of a strange exercise in correctness. It's a weird exercise, but we basically want to receive an old server message, apply it to our old state, and replay our client prediction on top of it. And for us, it should be perfect.
Yeah.
So it's strange because you'll just see everything working. Like
there's
see a difference when the prediction.
They cannot work unless we invent something that could potentially move the tank or cause the tank not to move. So it could be that the turret is firing at it or whatever. That's when it becomes interesting.
Yep.
Is shooting and that sort of thing.
But I do think if we take server state and apply it in the past to client state and see no change, like we could like validate that it's working correctly for ourselves, and it would be cool to see that it's happening. And then we can as we add more systems and we know that we're keeping this like buffer of back frames to reapply our inputs to, like it's gonna be an exercise in getting the same visual out, but it'll be really cool.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm into it.
So this is the client that we're mostly interested in. How does the client? Yeah. How does the client keep track of input A and past server state B?
So, right. Great question. I was thinking, I mean, we've already kind of done this the heavy way. Like we're just taking every server state is the entire set of entities and transforms, and it just reapplies it. Mm-hmm. Should we just keep 20 copies of that?
Yeah, we totally could.
And the other thing we could that go with
and then the optimization over that is to keep full snapshots at intervals, or just really just the last full snapshot that we care about, and then just make sure that you retain the full server message queue without pruning out previous frames.
Yep.
Right. Which means that we need to change how we do the pruning, right? Because I think right now we prune out server message. Well, we don't do any pruning right now, right? The server message queue, I believe it just grows indefinitely, right?
No, we drop it at the very end of the client update. I think we toss it off. But the big issue on the client is that we accept every server message before our frame. So when we're on client frame 5 and server sends 0, we're like, okay, cool, there's some state. We'll just like toss that in here. And that's how we're handling the updates. So we're never out of sync. We're always just like behind.
Server message frame that's greater. This cleanup is a little bit interesting. This is saying that we'll throw away any server message frame that is ahead of the current frame on the client side.
Oh wait, Jeff, hang on. Zoom stopped working? Why did Zoom stop working?
Yeah, I see that on the stream. It looks like it's not synchronizing the screen share right now.
Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is,
I can stop sharing and share again. It's gonna look funny on OBS.
No, don't do it because my video is working.
Okay.
And your video is not, which is weird.
Okay.
Nope. Now there's 2 of me. That's not what I want. Nobody wants that.
I like it actually. It looks cool.
Oh, hey, you're back. Okay, wait. Maybe I just need to turn this off and on again.
The only problem is the screen share seems to be frozen.
I turned it off and on.
There
again.
it is.
I have qualms and questions, and we'll figure that out later.
Okay.
Thanks, Zoom.
Well, what did you do? You basically
I toggled the visibility in OBS. The eye, like I hid and unhid it on the windows that were frozen, which is not an acceptable solution.
I see. So it's maybe not a Zoom problem, but like a Zoom talking to OBS problem.
Potentially, yeah. Or OBS lost some buffer that it really wanted. That's okay. So yes, back to the server message queue.
Yes. I think maybe this logic we didn't quite think through last time or the time before. This says basically we're in the client perspective right now, and we're basically saying, let's get rid of all of the server messages whose frame is greater than the current simulation.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it seems like it should be
definitely the other way.
The opposite.
Huh.
But I think what we're saying is we actually want to retain them in a reconciliation buffer. We're not going to use it to well, basically it's all reconciliation, right? Like if we're predicting this filtering, we're actually not going to retain any messages because essentially we
should be snapshotting clients.
Well, snapshot client state that's fully reconciled.
Yep.
And then anything after the snapshot we keep in a buffer so that we can reconcile.
Yep. I know it's some mind bending.
And the only reason we do that is for memory savings, because we could always snapshot the previous frame, right?
I was going to say let's just capture everything right now.
Okay.
Because saving the memory, I think, once we have the toy laid out, we will see where we can trim data and where we want to like choose to put a snapshot and trim down. Like the server message is too noisy, but like let's just do it all. You talked me into this last week. I'm really into just like being silly about this one.
Okay. So does that mean that we have Is it like that?
Now, is it an array of entity managers or is it a array of entity arrays? And really maybe an object of entity arrays that is keyed on frame?
Yes. Yeah, let's just do that for now.
Because I kind of...
So it's a hash table, right?
Yeah, I kind of want to keep a single entity manager. I don't know why, but I feel like that is mentally that'll keep me a little happier. You can't key number. You got a key string. Can you key number? Wait a minute. That's allowed. All right.
Well, I mean, the thing about this is that it's basically an array that is like that has a bunch of empty shit in the front, and so it's going to be super space inefficient once you get past frame 10, right?
Oh yeah, I just didn't think TypeScript would let you do anything but key string. That's great.
Well, there's a duality between strings and array, objects and arrays in JavaScript, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's
right.
It's kind of misguided. I don't know. PHP has the same weird thing, but it's not like it's smart about it. I don't think. Right. Let's even take a look.
It won't generate an array for you out of nothing here for sure. Yeah.
So if I say like x equals some object, right,
mm-hmm.
and then I say x10 equals foobar, what is x?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So what is x10?
It's always a string. Keys are always strings. Oh, and numbers.
What the fuck?
I think it calls toString on your input.
So what if I do this?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have used x, but
Eric, can you move that up?
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Eric says JavaScript lol. Yep.
And then I do x. Yeah, see, it is an array of 11 objects.
Correct.
Right.
So objects. I'm into like object is the correct syntax for this. Eric,
okay.
Do you remember the JavaScript video from Gary Bernhardt that was just what?
I mean, that was the original wat,
Wat.
right? That was.
Is that where we got wat?
It was from him, yeah.
Oh my
With the
god,
horse, the horse head.
Gary Bernhardt's just a hero of the people.
Yeah.
Wat.
Okay, past client frames.
Uh-huh.
Boy, at what point do we start to break this up into client and server?
I mean, we have
Sort of.
the code. The
Yeah.
code.
The code is like
The shared game is still a gnarly little nugget of code smell. We'll have to undo at some point. Entity array, yeah. By the way, this time I tweeted in the middle of our stream, hey, we're live streaming right now instead of beforehand. So.
Oh, I forgot to tweet.
That's okay.
I forgot to post my LinkedIn. I had a busy afternoon. I was setting up the new computer.
Do it. Whatever. Yeah. No, I'm just trying a different strategy, which is like get people in the moment.
When do people browse LinkedIn? Do they browse it on the weekends when they have free time, or do they browse it on the job one because they're like dreaming about a different job?
Sometimes, I open LinkedIn, and this makes me a shitty person. I open LinkedIn to see if I've gotten any messages from recruiters so I can say no to them. Eric says the second one. Browse on the job in case you got a shitty job.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
Jeff, I just got a message from your financial advisor on LinkedIn.
My friend who?
This guy, Greg Fornero. He's not even your financial advisor.
Yeah, he's a friend from high school.
Oh, he said, I noticed we're both connected to Jeff Lee.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Maybe he's looking for business.
He wants to be a financial advisor to the engineers.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually, it's cool.
He didn't reach out to me. I'm kind of offended. I don't know. No, it's fine, Greg. Greg is cool.
It's because I've got that VP title on my LinkedIn. I've started getting weirder messages.
Oh, that's so cool.
I got to write my own title.
Vice President asshole to you, bub.
Yeah, that's Pogo was a short-lived experiment, but I do love having VP of Product Engineering on my LinkedIn because
it's fantastic. Yeah,
I got so many weirder requests for that when I was between jobs this time. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, when I handed you off to Slack Recruiting,
they
They immediately said, "Oh, he's probably overqualified for the pay grade of this role." And you'd already taken the other job offer anyway, so it was like no harm, no foul. But,
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I got that from a lot of people where I would get through some interviews and they'd be like, "Just so you know, we can only there's only 160 for the job," and I'm like, "That's a fine number. Good God, man! 6.5 figures. Come on." But like, yeah, I think like I've never gotten this like weird hesitance about that before. I'm just like, all right, I played the title game right.
Yeah.
Whew, software engineer privilege, baby.
Yeah, I think I might have apexed out on my titles. I don't want any more. This is me advertising my resume to the outside world right now, but I don't know how much more heat and organizational responsibility I want. Then I think staff engineer is a fine title.
Oh, Eric, I'm at this company called Omada Health now. It's really awesome. I just joined in the middle of June. Man, I'm having the best time though. I'm like I joined as a staff engineer, which is actually a huge set of responsibilities for me to actually be responsible for things. But yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm doing React Native Dev and like a whole bunch of Rails there, so it's like weirdly exactly my skill set. Oh, thanks, man.
Okay, we have past client frames now, so we just want to start tracking them, right? And these are the frames. What are we actually snapshotting here? It's just everything, right? It's literally everything.
Let's wait till we run out of memory to worry about it. Are you working on your 16-inch? You've got 64 gigabytes of memory.
I'm not working on my 16-inch right now.
Don't
it's
cross
my
the
work
streams.
computer, and yeah, exactly. I have a very clear separation of church and state here.
Good.
This dot past client frames. This dot frame. It's not even a local. Equals deep clone. Is it clone deep?
Might be clone deep.
Gosh, clone deep is such an abomination of.
It shouldn't be there, but you know what?
Well, yeah, we're moving towards entities as pure data, right? Eventually, so
it's going to be a really nice sort of way to enforce that for us. Like
I kind of love it actually. Yeah. This dot entities. And then we need to add this guy.
Boom.
How did it know to import that from Lodash? Is that just known?
Well, it's TypeScript knows that the underscore symbol is exported by Lodash. If you took away the underscore dot and just had clone deep, it would have tried to import clone deep from Lodash because that's one of the symbols it knows about from the general space.
Does it know that? Does Lodash somehow communicate that it exports underscore? Because it's not exporting underscore, it's exporting the whole thing. This to me implies special knowledge of the package. Right?
You should command click that. I'm curious what it exported. You might have to command click Lodash. Well, it's not even giving you a definition? Oh, interesting. It's just giving you cursors.
Export equals underscore. Export as names. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, this is okay. This is the NPM shit I do not know about.
Oh, this is TypeScript. This is all TypeScript stuff. This is the index.d.
Oh, cool. So so they did tell TypeScript, we would like you to export us as this.
Okay.
That's cool.
Neat.
Man, I just love TypeScript. It's great.
It's phenomenal.
It's really great.
Let me show you something that I was deep in the heart of. I was deep in the heart of this code base the other day. And it is pretty gnarly. Oh, wait, that's not even what I want. Like, wait, where is your actual source code here? Oh, you know what it is it pulls it in from some other thing. OctoKit core is what I want.
Ugh.
Yeah. Sorry about this. It's going to take me a little bit of time to navigate my way to what I want. What?
So wait, what is OctoKit?
OctoKit is the GitHub SDK.
Okay. Man, we gotta get Eric on the stream with us next time. Now that we're doing Zoom, because like he's just hanging out.
Yeah. Do you want to make a game with us, Eric, or hang out for a couple hours?
You can just eat popcorn and like chill. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. Oh, core.js.
There's your problem.
What is wrong with me?
He'll eat popcorn. Okay, great. Yeah, we'll coordinate this soon. This will be really fun.
Okay, so if I go to the types, like this, their whole constructor is this, like this is all TypeScript. Look at this.
What?
Amazing. They even had to create like a utility type refinement object to like do this
goodness gracious.
Because I think probably the original SDK exposed like 5 different ways of instantiating the SDK, and
so
they needed
like
to model that.
It's just the
TypeScript
types. Oh,
yeah,
no.
TypeScript was complex enough to like actually support all of that. It's incredible. All right,
TypeScript is good.
yeah, we spend like 20% of the time on this stream talking about how crazy TypeScript is, but all we really wanted was Lodash, right?
Correct, and you got it. But why is this dot entity is not what?
On game? Client entity manager is what we want.
Ah, there you go. Because it was called entities.
Yeah.
I forgot that too.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused. Oh, you know what? This is a key value map between IDs and this somehow bites me every single time.
Oh no. Oh, that's good though. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
Should we define or export that type?
It's still having a time with it. Let's see. Oh, did I actually inadvertently add a...
Oh, is it one? It's one object too deep. No? Ah, yep.
Yeah, okay. That should do it. No more complaints from you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Dude, how did I write any code before like the compiler did this for me? I don't even know.
I think you wrote unit tests. No, we didn't.
Not a chain, I didn't.
We didn't. Yeah. I think we ran it and it broke.
Yeah. Unit testing a chain. We were a startup.
There were some tests. We started getting into it.
The Go team was much better than I was.
Oh, okay.
Man, when you left, I might have let it slip.
When I was on the Go team, we didn't write that many tests, though. But that was a long time ago. Okay. So we're cloning that. That really only serves us for reconciliation purposes. Now we do prediction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So prediction means we need a system to simulate motion. Do we just do Tank Mover in the client?
I would really like that, yeah. And I think it's going to require us to restructure Tank Mover to not... Well, it looks into the global client message. I think we need to hand it like the current set of messages it should expect and not the game. Or we need 2 games.
Yeah, we're doing the... What Tank Mover should be is what it should be is that, okay, so I think to reformulate what this is past client frames, these are past resolved client frames. Let's call it that. And plus reconciled. And this will be at least 5 frames in the past.
And sorry, you mean these are past frames received from the server?
Past frames received from the server that we've also applied our... No, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Past received server frames.
It's past, yeah, it's past... I see, but because we receive the entire frame in every queue, but this is... No, they should be called client frames because it is us taking server messages and turning them into like our own entity set.
past authoritative frames, maybe?
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. And let me just say client because it's right now in the same class, so it's confusing, and I just have to add that, right?
Totally. Yeah, I look forward to separating this out, but right now,
Yeah. So it's past authoritative client frames, and that's going to be at least 5 frames in the past. So we should only be snapshotting when we do reconciliation.
Oh, Jeff, I have a wild idea.
Yeah.
Should we give the game like a client and a server object and start hanging properties like this off of that? Because then it would be this.client.past authoritative frames.
Oh yeah, let's totally do that.
Yeah, and then we can sort of like we'll be able to check what state is correctly encapsulated.
Okay. Should we do that quick refactor right now?
But just for this one, like let's just treat it this way because when we want to add server authoritative frames, we'll like have the same pattern.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So client is.
Eric, we spend so much time refactoring. Everything's a refactor. We refactor as we write the code.
Kamsa?
Yeah. How's that feel?
I like it.
Okay, cool. And yeah, this is like client initialization. I like it. Oh, and it's just authoritative? Yeah.
Okay, I dig it. And then in the update, it is. And we have to figure out exactly when this logic actually happens, but more or less what we're doing is we're just copying the game state. And we're just snapshotting the game state, basically, right?
Yep. So perhaps this is the... I mean, we have the sync... we have the sync server state system.
Oh, this should go in there.
Yep. So that's how we handle messages coming in, and I think we need to.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, but this system
is game.
Yeah. Great. Oh, I love it. I was gonna say, the system has a logic problem for us though, which is that it will read anything from it'll take any frame before the current one, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So we should sync it to our frame. We should process the frame we've got when we get it. Or sorry, we should process...
I mean, it should be the server frame, right?
We should only process messages for frame 5 when we're on frame 5, is what I'm saying. Is that right?
Well, client's going to be ahead of the server.
Right, actually it does, because you're going to receive messages in the past every time. Okay, we should just
so
make sure
maybe it's more that... Maybe this is actually the... we don't have a place in the code right now where the client consumes the server message because we're doing shared memory right now, right? So maybe...
Wait, is this not it?
This is it, you're right.
Yeah, we did it. This is what I did last week.
Okay, so maybe what it should be in that case... And the problem is the message queue is like the way it's conceived right now, you could potentially intermingle server frames from different frames. I know that's like physically impossible, but like there's nothing in the data structure that implies that they're strictly ordered by frame. Although we did sort it, right? We did sort it.
I did sort it.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of this filter. And what we can do...
Oh yeah, it'll never be.
Can we partition? Does Lodash have a MDN JavaScript array partition?
What are you trying to partition?
I want to break this into chunks of contiguous messages that have the same frame number. So it'll be like an array of arrays, right?
Is that a zip?
The zip...
No, that's
it's sort of the reverse of that. Yeah.
I'm always just looking for a reason to use that function because I never do.
I remember like when I first started learning Python, and this was like in 2008 or something like that. Someone used zip in a very elegant way, and I didn't understand it, and I felt very imposter syndrome at not knowing it. Partition is what Ruby calls it, I believe, or chunk. Chunk. This is by size. Because this is a function that I've written like a million times, and it's just super annoying to write.
Yeah, is it? Gosh, it really is.
It's basically like, well, what if just the queue is also an object that is keyed by frame?
Wait, Jeff, our server message queue, we only ever expect one message from the server. Remember, we're taking multiple client messages. The server receives multiple client messages for the same frame, but every client receives at most one server message for the same frame. Because the server is sending out like, here is your delta for frame 10.
I mean, that's the way it is right now, but we also did some factoring. I mean, the reason why it's called a message in the first place is that it's not like a snapshot, right? Unless we want to consider it that, right? Like if we're defining a message as like everything that the server will send to the client for one frame, then that's fine.
That's what I was thinking, because we were coming up with a format that was like creations, deltas, and deletions.
Okay. So we don't even need to sort then, right?
We want to apply them in order if we've received multiple, but we'll get at most one per frame. If we receive two, they'll be for like subsequent frames.
Yeah. Okay. Let's assume that like maybe you receive them out of order over the network.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're sorting them.
I don't trust anyone for giving me the same sort order that it came in. Yeah.
And so what we want to do is we want to take the result of this and then it's m.frame, right?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so that is going to snapshot every...
That's it,
yep.
Right?
Great.
And then this is just to avoid the stutter.
Next frame entities, yeah. Love it. Well, actually, wait. Next frame entities is already a deep clone, right? Just assign next frame entities.
The reason why I don't want to do that is we might modify this.
Might modify
for rendering, right? When we do prediction of this, we're going to modify this.
Fair, right? Because prediction will be taking the current client entity manager's entities and stepping them.
This whole thing makes me want to. It does very much feels like Redux right now. It makes I have these like unpleasant impulses to make this all functional. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, we're so close too.
Yeah, because it's all event sourcing. It's like you have the snapshot and then you have mutations over that, right? We are very close to having reducers. Gosh, we both have these like hipster tendencies that are just like seething under the skin. You know what I mean? Like we just want.
I told you that my manager is just so fed up with Redux that he's just like, we're gonna do it from scratch. No more Redux. No more nothing. Like React has a context API. We're just gonna use it. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Are you using hooks at all?
Yeah, with hooks and the context API, Redux is meaningless. It's great.
Did you ever do what's the latest thing? I think I tried using it. It's the thing on top of hooks that allows you to subscribe to global state on a component.
That's context. Yeah, you can I think.
God, there's this other thing.
Is it not just use state?
React hooks library for global state. We looked at it very briefly.
Oh, it's a library. Okay.
And it's by someone who is in
Statics
Facebook. It's not this one either.
That's clever though.
Why can I not remember this? But the idea is that like rather than saying use state, you say use state, but then you pass it basically an identifier. And that identifier also is accessible in other components. And that's the thing that you can't currently do with just hooks, right?
Oh shit, man. That's a game changer.
Yeah. And then it knows how to wire things up so that if that identifier state changes, it'll broadcast all the components that called use state on that identifier.
Oh man, I want exactly that thing.
I'm going to try to find it right now.
Okay.
React hooks library. Oh, fuck. Why can't I remember what it was called? This might be me not using Google.
Oh yeah, there's a problem. I feel like, I mean, I've also switched to DuckDuckGo for my default. But sometimes I have to
Talk
go
about
back.
context. I get it, but it's not the same thing. There are a couple libraries that do it.
What a great pattern, though, man.
I actually had written the map editor with it at first, but it turned out to be like super overkill for what I needed.
Wait, I love that the one fun thing that still exists inside Google Global Fascist Headquarters is that they put 10 O's in their logo for the search results.
They put what?
10 O's in the word Google for their search results. I'm honestly surprised that's still on the page. Just at the very bottom, the pagination is their logo. That's all. I just saw it. I'm just like, wow, yeah, someone kept one sense of whimsy.
90s. Yeah.
But just one whimsy.
I'm so sad that I can't find this.
You're gonna remember the name of it as soon as we stop the stream. So
that is also true. Yeah. All right. So I'm a defeated man. I will not continue.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So we were looking for partition, and then we decided we didn't need it. Oh, because we cloned our we have our snapshots. So
yeah,
should we run prediction?
Yeah. Let's run prediction. So prediction is going to be. We don't even use the frame number anymore, and I'm going to keep that there for now. Just
we might want that.
We might want it.
Well, the other thing that we need to keep is the list of client messages by frame. Our client messages by frame. Because when we receive an old authoritative state, we're going to take the old authoritative state and replay our client messages on top of it.
That is correct.
So that's the missing, and we will need the frame for that probably. Maybe. No, we won't.
So really all we need, this doesn't need to be a buffer. This just needs to be the most recent thing that we got from the server, right? It needs to be the summation of that. So it's like, what's going to happen is we're going to snapshot the authoritative server state that we receive from the server.
Mm-hmm.
But we never actually, eventually that's never going to be what the server sends, I think. What the server's going to send is deltas, right? And so we need to keep track of like the smashing of all the deltas to the most recent thing that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
We're only going to have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And our current state that we render off of, so our render state, is going to be that summation plus the simulation of every frame's worth of input.
Correct.
On top of that, right?
So we need to be able to run the simulation loop manual. We need to be able to run the simulation loop from this function.
Correct.
Like 10 frames into, we need to be able to like, oh god, that's a lot of work.
Correct. But this, I believe I've convinced myself, this snapshot, there only needs to be one.
Singular, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let's do that.
So I have a thought. Can snapshot be the list of entities and the frame that it is a snapshot of? So just two keys, which is entities and frame?
Yes, I get it. Entities. And the frame is implicitly the server frame, right?
Yeah. Number.
Sorry, I'm a brain fart for a second there.
That's okay.
Okay.
Right. It wants two keys. Yeah.
We could be very fancy about it.
No.
I'm just going to do -1 for now.
Yeah.
Because it's nonsense.
Can you set
And
not a number for a number value? I have so many questions.
yes, you can.
God damn it. It's not a number. Come on, TypeScript.
This is
I should be there. Yeah.
it's actually subsumed under this.
And then entities becomes, yeah.
All right. This is excellent. Okay, so back to sync server state. I'm not convinced. Sorry, this is a very throwaway comment. I'm not actually convinced this should be a system. I think we should factor it out into its own function. It should be applied to game state. But I think if we think of a system in the formal sense as being kind of like what runs our simulation, this is outside the simulation, right? It's sort of like what controls the simulation, what controls, it's like it's a meta system almost.
That's fair. I guess I was thinking that everything being a system means that we just run this. This is like the start of every client's simulation is like, but yeah, you're right. It's like, it's not touching, I guess you're saying since it doesn't touch anything that's part of the game, like it doesn't run tanks or bullets or any of that stuff, that it's not actually like a game system. It's a, is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, it's also a system that will only ever run on the client, which maybe is fine.
That's what we got the client systems folder for that already. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But I hear what you're
anyways,
saying. It's not doing game logic, which I think is part of it. Oh, you can just do next frame entities, right? Oh, nope. We need the full one. Sorry.
So this is interesting. What I want to do here is and then
Yep.
Right. So snapshot, server snapshot. So this is our like prepare or compile authoritative state from server messages.
Yep. Right, and then after this is when we actually, once we've snapshot it, then we run the simulation with every client input from last frame to whatever the client has.
And so this is wrong.
That is wrong.
I think what it has to be is like,
oh, yep.
Right. Like we apply server diffs onto the authoritative server state. Right.
Man, this is going to be like one of our tiniest diffs, but it's like scalpel edits.
Yeah, and then this is like,
so can I suggest, wait a minute, should we delete? No, we don't need to delete line 31. It's okay that we have updated the client entity manager entities at the very end, every time we process this, because...
Well, no, I think you're right to say that it should be equal to the snapshot.
Well, yeah, but that was inside a for loop that was building those entities, so I think we have to...
And...
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah. So just to be clear, like, okay, what we're doing here is we're building up, like, we want to know like what the server sees. That's all this. We're not touching client state at all. But now what we want to do is update our local state to what the server saw at some frame in the past, plus all of our predicted, our buffered input on the client side to yield our final predicted.
Yeah. So can you scroll up?
Yes.
We're getting the entity from server snapshot. We're creating it if not, and I think instead of next frame entities, we actually need to write this back into server snapshot then. Is that correct?
We do, like right here.
No, but what is next frame entities just dies as a local variable.
Oh, yes, I see exactly what you're saying.
Or really, no, it's okay actually. We could assign that to the server state and give the client the deep clone.
You're saying do this.
Yeah, on that line. Yes.
And then get rid of this.
It's gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a challenge. What about entities that died on the server? How do we get rid of them?
Nothing can die yet. Yeah, good question. Right, because that was doing a exhaustive. Okay. So
I actually think next frame entities is correct.
it's fine, and I forgot it was outside of the scope. Now,
and then I think that what this is
is it that? Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
and then we do this equals next frame entities,
Yes, that's.
and
what I was
then
gonna
that
say.
carries over to the next iteration, right?
That's perfect now. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's what was kind of messing with my mind. Cool.
And then let me just. That feels like those two things go together, right?
I agree. Yeah.
So basically, we apply all of the various per entity mutations here for that frame. That is our authoritative snapshot for that frame,
Mhm.
and then we keep going.
Jeff,
Right?
do you want to just the lines 33 to
They don't need to be there. I agree.
You
You're
can
basically saying like
just lift them
do
up, yeah.
this. Yeah. This is next frame
and
entities.
then it's next frame entities. Yep.
It doesn't even need to be cloned deep, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do need to clone deep on line 41 now, or whatever that turns into.
M.frame.
Mhm.
And then this is
Yeah, and then that's the deep clone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels good.
This is awesome. Yeah, this feels great. It'll feel even better when these aren't classes anymore, and the clone deep is going to feel a little bit more legitimate. Although there's still no real deep clone function in JavaScript, right? It's like JSON.stringify, JSON.parse.
Clone deep will just work, and I'll be less scared of using it once it's JSONable and not
like
strange objects
prototypes and stuff.
Yeah. All right, clone deep could be stick it in JSON, pull it out of JSON again. You got a new object.
I drank too much.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to eat a burrito.
While I choke on water.
Live on camera.
I love it.
Cool.
Okay, and then we can clear out the server queue. Right, like the server queue is just done after this.
Fully processed, yeah.
Yeah.
I expect that there will be like I don't know. We could have a mutex problem if this was a better language, but we probably don't.
Oh, it's fine. This is all atomic here.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, that's what I was saying. Like you can't interrupt this in JavaScript, thank goodness. But
Yeah.
I can imagine a world where you could.
Yeah. Okay. So one problem that if we want to follow this through, we need to play. We might need to basically we need to play back all the input that we buffered between m.frame and the client frame, which is up here. I'm glad we kept this.
Yep.
Right.
And the client needs to buffer its input.
Yeah, and so basically we need to get all the input buffers, right? And I think we have a notion of that already in the client message queue.
But that's server state.
Yes. So what we're saying is player input system needs to put all this stuff into.
And it's just handle player move right now is the only one that does. Yeah.
So we need to put these somewhere on the client side.
So maybe do we want to say game.send client message so that we have a way to like a helper function to throw messages out of systems, and then that'll something will send to the server, and then something will stick it in our
something will buffer it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, this is getting unwieldy.
Yeah, the game got rough. We could pull out the debug draw stuff if we want.
Yeah, I'm okay right now. So client in queue client message
Yeah, totally.
or send client message. Let's be super general about it. And then what is the client message again? The object?
Um, we have a
I'll just look at the client message queue. It's going to be the same thing.
yeah, and we have a type for it, I think.
Server message queue.
it's type
server
client
data is
message.
here. Client message. And then we do this thing.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
And then we also do game.client.input buffer
Yep. Dot push.
or message buffer.
I can't. Let's do message buffer. The other things could send messages. Like we'll just process them one per frame.
Well, this is interesting because basically what we're saying is that the client message is consumed by both the server and the client, which I actually kind of love. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm hoping that anything that does this will actually be a completely shared system. So like Tank Mover, I think needs to be refactored to receive the message instead of like pull it off the server message queue, but it's about to be really cool.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Client message. Boy, this is getting fun. Or at least it's starting to like kind of piece together a little bit in my head.
I totally agree, and it's weird how much like there was definitely a big like lift to sort of steer the boat in that direction, but it's feeling very good.
Yeah. This is this, right?
Mhm.
And these are immutable, so it's fine pushing the same reference there. We don't need to do clones or anything.
Correct.
Wonderful. So,
A player input needs to call that, by the way.
yeah, totally.
Oh yeah. Bingo.
Wonderful. Okay. So now we need Tank Mover to consume the message, right? And so Tank Mover can't know what the source of this is, right? Is essentially what we're saying.
Yeah, though it's interesting. It could take a client message queue as an input.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So the game is still there, although like again, it's a little bit awkward. Like this is too much state that we're passing into here, right? It's like here are the keys to the kingdom.
Ooh, and actually, like looking further down, this also looks into the server entity manager to get a player, which is wrong.
So we need to pass the entity manager then.
Yeah. Okay. What if it passed an object that was the client or the server, like a game state?
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, game state,
So
and the
what do
game
we-
state
what
has
do
the
we
entity
actually
manager
get?
and the queue.
So it's basically like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like this.
Yeah,
And then-
exactly.
Messages.
Uh-huh. And it goes back to normal. Team manager, the system is reusable.
Oh man,
I'm feeling it. Oh, that's great.
It's fantastic. And then game, we're gonna call game state.
Sure.
Game state already means like the state machine of the overarching game.
Yeah. Yes. Because it might be. Ooh. I played that game.
Sim state.
Sim State.
It's like that's going to be the Maxis game of the 2020s when we're in the Civil War, right?
Man, rest in peace, Maxis. They were great.
Yeah. Did they get eaten by EA? Is that what happened?
Of course.
So who publishes The Sims now? Is
EA.
it just EA? Okay.
Yeah. And it's like the only thing that Maxis still makes. Like everyone quit, and that's just like a franchise that gets sort of zombied along.
Yeah. I have no idea if any of this code compiles right now, by the way, Dom. Just throwing that out there.
I keep seeing build happen in the bottom, so like I'm not sad.
Yeah. I mean, it's build errors, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
We've got an
Can't win them all.
extra import up here for game that we don't need anymore, which I also like.
Yeah. Yeah, this is wonderful. Okay, so now that Tank Mover does that, we need to update the server update, right?
Correct.
The server loop. So that it passes the correct state. Tank Mover is no longer this, so basically what we pass in is at a certain point, this should probably just all be keyboard arguments, right? Like this is all simulation states related stuff. Entities is this dot server entity manager. Messages is this dot client message queue. And then our prediction. What is it complaining about?
Did you actually, is it dot entities on top of that? No? What? It looks extremely assignable to that type because those are the same words. You named it entity manager in the system. So this parameter name is wrong. That's all.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, no, line 245 just has to change to entity manager.
Oh, we don't have a server entity manager. It's just entity manager, right?
No. The keyword, the entities keyword is what's mismatched.
Oh, entity manager.
That's called entity manager. That's okay.
That took me a while.
No, you good.
Okay, so now we can actually do this, but on the client, right? And this is our like per frame prediction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we see if the game still works? And can we resolve anything before we add the next layer? Just to make sure.
I'm trying to convince myself that the game should work right now.
I think I mean, you could switch to the tab. I bet it does.
Frames defined. We need that. Okay, yeah. Did that compile?
It's been compiling. Yeah, I'm.
Oh, so all this stuff is from before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it keeps working.
Yeah, the game works. It's like kind of alarming because the lag is so high right now. But we're getting close here with the prediction, right? So if we just add prediction but no reconciliation, that would be in the client update, right?
Yeah, and what's going to happen? Are we going to see it jump backwards as we predict and it gets an old state? Something like that. Let's find out.
Well, what's going to happen right now, because we don't play it back, is that let's actually see. It's confusing because like basically we undo the last frame's input.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's going to jump forward and jump back is my guess, right?
Yeah, I just want to see it.
Client update, and then what we're going to do is
somewhere in there, right? Yeah.
Where do we call sync?
It's at the very top of this function. It's like the first thing that happens. Oh, look, I even left notes.
And then we do it here.
Yeah, I think so. Nice. This client message
buffer filter of messages whose frame is equal to what is the current frame?
Just frame.
Right.
It's passed into this, yeah. I see. Yeah. We're handing it. Okay, right. That makes sense. And then DT in frame. Cool.
I think I gotta correct that. And DT needs to be a constant on both the server and the client, or else their prediction is going to be off.
Correct.
Right now, they are constant. They're like almost the same value because we have it on a set timeout, but it needs to be fixed.
Now, could
at some point in the
we
future.
run it at a ratio? Could we run like double server frames or double client frames and like know that we like simulate DT/2 on one of these systems? Wait, does DT need to be fixed? It's always applying. It's
It needs to be fixed if we want the simulation to be deterministic.
okay. That I agree with.
However, I think it can be a little bit off and slightly non-deterministic if we do something like time dilation. If you watch that Overwatch video, he talks a little bit about how like if the server notices that it's like the client input is lagging a lot, it'll tell the client, hey, you need to start updating at a faster rate and sending like flooding the network with more input because I'm not getting it fast enough. And so the client will actually update at like a faster like tick cycle and constantly like be adjusting so it's not fixed frame rate basically, but for a specific reason. Okay, so yeah, so I can feel a slight stutter, but it's visually not that chunky, but I still feel a giant delay right now.
You feel a giant delay. Interesting.
Well, the reason why it's not hitching, well, it should be hitching.
Sorry, there's a giant delay because our prediction is never being realized because we're always 20 frames behind the server, but we're getting one server frame per frame that we're parsing in. So we're not actually like, the server should maybe send fewer frames. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure why we're not seeing a hitch though.
Can we look at main TSX real quick? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Are we sending fewer frames? I thought we weren't. I forgot if we're delaying these or not. We're not. We're just behind.
Yeah, but basically what's happening, sync server state is basically saying, at this point, I don't care what you had on the client side, you are now 20 frames ago, right?
Right, but we get frame 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I think you could comment out tank mover and it should work exactly the same right now because we're not.
Yeah, I think I see what's happening right now.
Yeah, we never see the prediction.
Is we're getting, like, at this point, the client is what the server had 20, like,
right.
What the server had, but the server's 20 frames behind. Then the input prediction moves it ahead a tiny bit.
Right. One frame.
Then it renders.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the next client frame, receives the next server snapshot, which moves it back. But then, since I'm still holding the button down, it inches it forward again, renders that. So we're not going to see any hitches here.
Yeah. Right, because it's always predicting exactly the next frame, which is what we get back, just late.
Yeah. So what I think we're doing here now is we want to do for each server, for all of our client messages, right? And we need to know what the we do know what the frame is, right? So it'd be like let f equals g.client.server snapshot.frame plus 1. F is less than or equal to the current frame.
Client server snapshot.
G.client. Message buffer.filter.
Boy, I want to message buffer is the thing I want to be a class that we can add some methods onto, like give me this frame of messages.
And this is a const, right? Frame messages. And then frame messages. So it's for m of frame messages.
That we don't need to loop because what we're gonna do is hand our
Oh, yes.
we hand our
We don't need
filtered
to loop.
message buffer to the simulation systems. Yeah.
What?
What the hell?
Systems.tankmover. And we need to import systems, right? This needs to be...
Mhm. Oh, we're just gonna do a one-off. That's great. That's what we should do, because eventually we can destructure this to run the simulation like entirely. But this makes a lot of sense.
Tank mover of entity manager,
Mm-hmm.
client entity manager. What is it? Messages?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Messages is frame messages. Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
DT is the one problem here. We need to basically like hard code this, and this is why we need a fixed frame rate. Right?
That makes perfect sense now. Yeah. And
And then
cool.
F, right?
Mm-hmm. Dude.
Oh, and that is popping. But it's
Whoa.
moving.
Whoa, this is wild to look at over here.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild to look at over here too. It's just, it's literally, I'm actually watching the stream and it's not any different on my side.
Okay, great. Why? Now, it looks like it's moving very quickly and then getting snapped back. Are we like applying too much motion? Is DT 1000 over 60 or is it 1 over 60?
It is the number of milliseconds that have passed frame over frame. So
It's actually milliseconds? Okay.
Should be this.
But when we calculate the DT, we subtract time and time.now. Is that...
I think it's roughly 16. Like, I think we were seeing 16 and 2/3.
When we log that? Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. We could make sure, right? Like, there's no harm in set timeout. So let's.
And I was gonna say maybe
The problem is the problem is this is Heisenberg, right? Like we're gonna get
a slightly different value, but pretty close,
Yeah.
right? See,
I mean, it's a little bit off, right?
no, it's many orders of magnitude off because it is fractions of a second, not the number 16. See what I'm saying?
Oh yes, it's fractions of a second.
Yeah.
So is that the problem?
Yeah, I think you want 1 over 60 because we're running forward in the simulation.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is units and seconds. It just happens to be the case that set timeout needs milliseconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Woo!
It's always something. So yeah, 1.0 over 60.
Oh, this feels good.
Wow.
There's a little bit of drift at the end,
Yeah, there is.
which is an unexpected side effect.
Huh.
But
This.
oh, you know what it is? It's the I don't know what it is. Well,
How is that possible?
after we let go of the button, you're still getting like several frames in the past
Mhm.
of server state and then simulating up to the current frame. But we should have predicted
Perfectly.
perfectly.
I wonder if could we be off by 1 on... Oh, you did less than equal to frame. Yeah.
It does feel like we're off by 1 frame.
I was gonna say, what if you just f less than or equal to frame plus 1? I don't know why, but like just do it. I hate that, but the other yeah, let's see what we got. Better, worse?
That is not better. I think it's about the same.
What about the other plus 1? Now I'm just being an asshole. Sorry.
This one?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here. Well,
It'll at least be there, right?
because like, I don't. Oh, that
Ooh.
actually has the opposite effect of popping us back.
Ooh, neat. Because we're predicting one frame too many. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I wasn't down your logic. I was just like, this feels like a one off.
Right. So this server snapshot should equal the fully predicted client side state, right? Including
right.
input handling.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. This is great progress. Like this feels pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to drive that tank.
It's kind of drifty by like what feels like more than just one frame, to be honest. Like it feels like there's a couple frames going on in here.
It feels like, I mean, is it a third of a second slowdown? Because I think it's a third of a second slowdown.
Yeah, that might be right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's really interesting. So it's like the message buffer is getting shorter, or like it's processing fewer.
When are we clearing out the client message buffer again?
Never, I thought.
I guess it doesn't matter, right?
No,
'Cause
we're filtering forward. Yeah.
What about on the server side is also just looking at the current. The server side is only considering frames
That's correct.
that are match its frame, right?
And it's because the tank mover system is only doing that, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's the server update that's doing the frame filtering, right? The server update is saying, oh, does that mean we're just like leaking memory like crazy right now, right?
Oh yeah, we are.
I wonder if I can see that.
You'll see it when the computer crashes.
Firefox.
That looks pretty normal for
551. 561. Getting higher.
10 megs a second.
557 is going down.
Good. I was gonna say you could open up the JavaScript inspector in Firefox and watch the memory graph there too.
Oh, that's way better.
Performance, or memory. Oh god, but this is always terrible. Yeah, just take a snapshot, see what we get. What the fuck? This is not what I expected. I haven't looked at the Firefox.
Does it look different in Chrome?
Yeah.
What if it's performance? I want a freaking live dashboard.
Yeah, start recording because this one keeps going.
Is that this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, that's cool. That's just paints and frame rates, but like whatever.
Yeah. So just to refresh my memory, client message queue. Oh, the tank mover.
Mm-hmm.
It is saying match my frame, right?
It does, yeah. Yeah.
Probably the thing. I feel like it shouldn't care. Like
how'd you get a semicolon on line 10? What's that doing in there? Does that work?
Line 10?
Yeah, between entity manager. Is that?
I think you have to have it. Like otherwise, we can.
I thought it's not a comma though. Wait.
Not for type declarations.
Oh gosh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I don't like that syntax. This is better. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. We are at 9:00, but this is pretty good. We have some bugs to fix, and maybe something that we can actually just take a look at off stream if we end up having the time.
Yeah, I've got some time for sure, and this is such a drastic improvement over what we had, which is really cool.
Right. So just to go back to our client update, I just want to make sure I labeled everything correct. Apply previous predictions. We're doing that now, right? Mm-hmm. In fact, let's just.
Yeah, I think you did all those things.
I did all of those things. And this is all the predictive simulation, right?
Correct. Yeah, I wonder, the sync server state calls tank mover a lot of times, then we get player input and tank mover gets called again. I don't see an ordering problem though, which really bugs me.
And right, I think, and we also sync server state before we introduce new messages on this frame, right? Because that's what player input does.
100%, yeah.
So it's not like we're playing the same frame twice here, nope. Right? This should only be doing net new stuff.
Yep. I'm curious. I'm going to continue to be curious.
I bet we have some weird logic in here somewhere. Right. It's also the case that our frame rates are not matching. Right. I don't know if you saw the draw frame rate in the performance of the profiler. It was like 57 point some frames per second.
That's true.
Which maybe means that we should try to fix DT to a specific number, even if it's not matching wall clock.
That's interesting. Right. What if we just put it at that in the client and server updates?
Yes, I see what you're saying. It's
yeah.
under main, right? So what we want is basically we just ignore this and we just say this is 1/60.
Yep. 1.0 probably, unless you want the.
Does JavaScript know the distinction?
I thought you got weird integer division. Nope. All right, that's fine. I picked that habit up somewhere.
That was it. This is perfect.
Wow. Well, that makes sense then. Our prediction was based on a different, like we were off hundreds of frames, really. We were off like a little amount and it drifted into correction. Cool. What implication does this have?
I would have thought it would go backwards though, because what I understand to be happening is that the frames in real, like while we were doing prediction, while we were doing prediction, the frame time should have been higher because it was less than 60 FPS, which means that with prediction we should have traveled a longer distance than the simulated distance, because the simulated distance is just 1/60.
No, but if we ever got under 60 frames per second, our frames would be longer than 1/60th. So that the server the authoritative thing would be ever so slightly longer.
You're absolutely right.
Than our 60th. So seems good. Cool. And I wonder if, I wonder how much of this is like the browser kicking our butts, because I don't feel like we're doing too much CPU stuff, but like maybe the
well, it's got to be the render, right? Like I think the render is what must be throwing our anim frame off, but we're not rendering that much.
We're not rendering.
You're right. It's the browser kicking our ass.
I think so, because and also it wasn't drawing faster than 60. It was like we started debugging it. It's like, okay, you're down to 58. I'm just like, I know you can do better than this.
Oh, so is it the debugger that was doing that then, right? Like literally observing it possibly was causing the lag.
That looks cool, man. This is great.
Yeah. We're not seeing that little drift.
No, and we've actually covered quite a bit of prediction here, because we covered almost all prediction. We take the player input, run it back in time.
Yep.
With whatever input the server gave us. That's dope.
And then, yeah, we totally did it. And then I think where it will become interesting is when the messages... We don't have any randomness right now, do we, at all?
Not right now. But like another player could be cool, and maybe this is where we have the server simulate an AI for us.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And then what's interesting about that is that the client-side prediction becomes very complicated, because the client needs to extrapolate other players' input, right? They basically need to say, what was your past trend? And let me extrapolate from that.
That's correct. And maybe. The extrapolation is what we haven't done. We've done pure prediction. Well, no, I guess we're extrapolating a little bit.
And I get why ECS helps this now, because we can pick which functionality gets predicted and which doesn't on a very granular level, right?
I'm extremely digging it.
So we can predict enemy tanks and enemy turrets rotating towards the player. We should not predict firing.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Oh man, this is great. This is like, it started off as this kind of like, oh God, I'm dreading this.
Yep. Now
a lot of talking about it, but now like
it's gonna be
together.
really cool to put systems back in piece by piece to get things going. Like, let's get the collisions in there. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to commit as is. There's probably a refactor. We should probably just call this like fixed frame rate and then pass in the 1,000 times that as the milliseconds version of that, and then just like go with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And then the assumption is that because we don't have control over the request anim frame, I think we just have to make the assumption that like it is 60 FPS. And I don't know if you can even control that at all in, Okay, I guess that's it. Eric, I don't know if you're still around, but thanks for joining us, and also other folks that might just not be chatting in the chat room.
Quite possibly.
But it's great to have you along for the ride. Happy Wednesday.
Time to get some guest streamers in here with us.
How is it the end of August already? It's the 27th.
Dude, I don't know. We've been doing this since April?
March? I think we started this like 2 weeks into the pandemic.
Jeez. Yeah. Oh, this is weird. Great.
All right. I think that's about it.
Oh, Eric's still here.
Yeah.
Good night, Eric.
It's a lot to ask of somebody to hang out with us on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, you just hung out and watched his program for 2 hours, man. You rock.
Yeah. I'll post to LinkedIn while everybody's looking for fantasizing about their dream job. It's like, hey, I bet you people don't know that I have a stream.
He's also playing NGU Idol. What is NGU Idol? Heck yeah. We're good. We're game background music. I love it.
Yeah.
This is honestly, this is what I've wanted the stream to be for a while. So fuck yeah.
I have a colleague that says that he basically puts on Twitch programming streams while he programs.
Oh,
he's like in the zone. That person must be a cyborg of some kind.
That's too much. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I can't even listen to like ambient music when I'm programming. It's too distracting.
I like
you don't listen.
No, music.
You don't listen to music?
Music, yes. Not the programming stream though. No words. I have to. I need like no word music.
Okay, got it.
Weird. All right. Well, good night, Eric. Good night, Twitch. Good night, Jeff.
Good night, Dom.